Welcome to Elite Outcome Academy, a place that I created in hopes to help you get better. And today's getting better is all about stinking thinking. It's about envy and jealousy. It's about embarrassment and anxiety. It's about self-esteem and all of the things that create us to be stuck and paralyzed in our terrible belief system, really. If you have a terrible belief system and you know it, you might not know why. You might know, but you don't know what you don't know. And today, I'm going to expose that for you. It's something that I've gone through many times in many evolutions and many iterations. And I wanted to create this episode today because I spent a lot of time thinking about this last night. There's a couple of podcasts recently that have come out with Jimmy Carr, the comedian. He was on Joe Rogan and on Chris Williamson, and this really, one of his ideas really sparked some intrigue into me digging into some of my own stinking thinking. And I figured, well, to become an elite version of myself, I really got to figure these things out. And if I'm going to be figuring them out for myself, I might as well be sharing them with you here at Elite Outcome Academy because, well, I want to become an elite version of myself. I want you to become an elite version of yourself. I want outcomes in life for actions to equal good outcomes. And under the Academy umbrella, we're just all learning together here. So, Mr. Jimmy Carr talked about the difference between jealousy and envy, and how one concludes to you not liking what somebody else has, wish for them not to have it, as well as you not wanting it for yourself. You just don't want somebody else to have something that's making them happy. And the other is being, you are jealous of, or you are, so the other was jealous, you're envious of something that somebody else has, wishing that you could have that for yourself. And then he talks about entitlement. I want to dive into entitlement because this really is where these feelings come from. Jealousy, envy, anxiety, depression. Boy, do a lot of these negative emotions, they're so strongly tied to entitlement. And I'm going to blow your mind here. I'm going to say some things that might suck to hear. And the key indication that you don't want to hear them is that you have a negative reaction to what I'm about to say. Most of the things that you experience in life are your own fault. If you're above the age of 25 and you are still blaming your life circumstances on other people, this is a problem. This was a big problem for me. The last couple of years, I've learned to rewire this out. So I had an extra decade up to 35 years old, of which I'll be 36 here in a couple of months, really worried about how I've been affected by other people. This created a sense of entitlement that I should be cared for, I should be taken care of because I have been done wrong and I deserve. We don't deserve. We earn. We're an earning, living creature. Before the current modern times, in order to eat, you had to earn your way to eat, whether that was hunting or gathering, whether that was preparation, or whatever the thing is, you had to earn your way to eat. You had to earn your way for shelter. You had to earn your way for clothing and protection. Today, we've gotten so far away from that, and we are so incredibly blessed with the technology and the systems and the housing and the water and the food supply and all the things that we have gotten away from this acknowledgement of having to earn what we have outside of working a 9-to-5 job and paying your rent and these other things. But the world of entitlement has come full-fledged and full force into the world of culture and society. And this is why we see so many issues in the forefront of people getting along, ideas being so radical, and all of this chaos in the world that we see today. And in order to change that, in order to have more peace and more, harmony, we have to first look into ourselves to understand what it is that we are feeling because of our own responsibility over ourselves. Not because of what other people have done. Those are valid points. We break those points down in other videos, such as, abuse and, neglect and abandonment and these types of things, and how we can learn to override our own system and overcome those things with the skills available that I've put together for those. But right now we're just talking about these really strong negative emotions. For me, so for me, as an example, I have this mechanism inside me that wants to be taken care of because I have been neglected and I have been abandoned and I've been betrayed by the people that I never imagined would do so. It's systematically, on a just universal level, I've experienced things that don't make sense. And I know so many of you have as well. And they make me emotional and they make me empathetic. And I have also experienced a life where I can be brutally honest. And if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, it's your time to do the work, to filter these things out within yourself. So my need to be taken care of stems from all of these past things. Nobody's coming to save me from these things. That's the one and first thing that I had to accept. Nobody's coming to save me. So if nobody's coming to save me, nobody's coming to give me these things that I feel entitled to deserve: love, compassion, companionship, at so many different levels, and a savior, not in a religious sense. I love the Lord, but that's not what we're talking about in this sense. I have to come to terms with those facts, and so do you. So an example that I dissected just last night in my own life was energy drinks. My need for that substance to be near me, to be able to consume it, to be able to have it without consequence. See, I don't want the consequence of consuming 900 to 1200 milligrams of caffeine per day. I don't want the consequence of my kids asking me how long I'm going to drink these bad drinks for, because I don't let them have it. So there's hypocrisy. There's when I'm carrying one, I feel judgment, even if nobody says anything. If I have one in my hand and I'm around certain people, I have this buzz of judgment that never really comes to fruition. So that feeling is my responsibility. I would like to be able to keep my energy drinks without the feeling of judgment. However, that judgment is established within myself. So two things have to happen. I either have to accept the fact that people aren't going to accept some of my behaviors. I have to learn to love them for myself, and also not care what other people think. Or I have to give them up and eliminate certain behaviors. So for me, looking at energy drinks. Tied this into this envy, jealousy, entitlement structure. I really spent some time thinking about this last night. I don't want tied into jealousy. I don't want to not be able to consume them while others are able to. So if I can't have them, I don't want you to either. I have to admit that. Envy comes into where I want where you're able to have and I'm not. And I know that I'm envious because of a thought that I had several days ago. I haven't given them up completely yet. I gave them up for a week. I was pretty proud of that, but I'll go into some more breakdowns of my obsession with the consumption of them. But the envious thought comes into, well, if you are going to be allowed to have them, they should be made in a way that are undesirable, because then I wouldn't want them. You wouldn't want them. And even if they are available, who cares? Because nobody's consuming them. But they don't do that. They make them delicious. And my entitlement says I should be able to consume them free of consequence. Free of emotional consequence, free of health consequence, free of any negative connotation. What are these things in your life? You have them. It doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of consumable, but it's some sort of behavior. You feel entitled to behave a certain way around certain people and or not, and it's an issue within yourself internally. I can count maybe 5 times that I have had somebody actually say something to me about it. This does have some history, because years past there was lots of disagreement and disgruntled over my consumption, but those people kind of got over it and accepted the fact that I consume a lot of caffeine. But those things still linger because I have people-pleasing mechanisms that are very much embedded because of other subjects that we'll talk about. So I want you to take some time to really think about your jealousies, the things that you envy, and the things that you feel entitled to. If you can really break these down in a multifaceted way, in which I will go over again here in just a moment to kind of help you think these things through, because this is what thought equations is about, the system that really powers Elite Outcome Academy and Tools to Recovery and Tools to Trauma, is to really break down what is the thing that keeps you tied to a certain behavior. I'll continue with the energy drink subject matter here, because though there's lots of negative emotions that I feel because of my use from an external factor, I apologize there, from external factors, I feel these things about myself as well. I don't feel good about my such strong attachment to them. And so I break down my attachment. What is this attachment? Well, entitlement in a different form, of which I'll explain here in just a moment, and sentiment. And thirdly, a fidget. It's a fidget. It's a flavor fidget that has chemical alterations within my body. And for the week that I was not drinking them, my mouth was very dry. My saliva glands did not know what to do because they go crazy with all the flavor in these things. And it started to become uncomfortable. And then my sentiment type came in. So I explained this so many times, and I'll repeat it over and over again. Teddy bear syndrome. This is what I've called it. It's called teddy bear syndrome, where we get attached to something so strongly that we cannot live without it. As a child, you have a teddy bear or a blanket that, or some sort of toy, a binky, that you cannot live without. And then as you get older, you kind of give those things up and you trade them in. You don't give up sentiment. You give up the thing sitting in its category. And you see this develop into adulthood as opinions and matter of facts, politics, ideas that are held onto so strongly that they're not given up. Just like the teddy bear, when you were a child, you could not go anywhere without it. Sentiment ties into adulthood as ideas and opinions. So, felt lonely without it, without the dang drinks. I felt lonely without them. There's already so much loneliness and overcoming and all of these things, and I've given up so much. I've changed my life so incredibly in so many different degrees. It's just such an incredible level, based on who I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and especially over this last 2 years, I've really redesigned my life, and I have very few things that I am tied to with such strong emotion. And we all have these things. I'm curious what they are for you. You can talk about them down in the comments. I'm going to dive kind of into this a little bit deeper in another video, talking about ADHD and trauma, a theory that I've been developing. And I'm actually really excited to shoot that one, so look forward to watching that here with me in the near future. So, sentiment is a huge tie to my consumption of energy drinks. Entitlement, in a different form of than what I explained just a little bit ago. Entitlement also comes in the form of rebellion. You're not going to tell me what I can do. I'm going to do it regardless of what you say. I'm going to do it regardless of what I say. Because I don't like being told what to do. There's a great lyric in one of the country songs that I've heard. He says, I tell myself that I should quit, but I don't listen to drunks. Wow. So incredible. What an incredible lyric. What are those things for you? You're so tied to them ideologically, physically, within some sort of addiction, maybe. What is it? I feel entitled through my rebellious nature to consume them, regardless of what me or anybody else says. Which is interesting because this kind of brings in a third-party identity, strangely enough. Another subject, again, for another time. So what you can do to really identify these things is, for me, I'm pretty good at thinking these things out. I can categorize them in my mind and kind of play with it there. For you, maybe you need to write them down. If there's a behavior or characteristic or personality trait that you are exhibiting that you aren't that happy with, maybe it's actually some form of destruction in your life. The thing you can do is write down all of the different emotions that you can think of, not tied to the subject, but that you can think of. Jealousy, entitlement, envy, sadness. On the other hand, joy, fulfillment, passion. You got to write all these things down. Now you can put them to a category. Okay. We'll use a positive one here real quick for me. I love helping people. I'm making these videos because I love helping people. I have this raging battle within me that is so worried about negative comments or disagreements or whatever that it makes me put a pause so often on being public about my work, being public about Elite Outcome Academy and the book that I'm writing, Successfully Destructive, and especially Tools to Recovery and Tools to Trauma. But I am actively making myself overcome those things. And I'm doing it in real time. An example, I was at the auto parts store the other day. I knew the bathroom was in the back, in the employee section, back behind the wall, behind the counter. And I know they let people go back there if you ask. It was so busy. I didn't have time to ask. And all I really needed was some paper towels. I was checking the oil level and in the car that I was just doing some maintenance on. And I feel really awkward, self-conscious, anxious, as if I'm going to be doing something wrong if I just walk back there. I decided to challenge this. See, I don't want to be called out. I don't want to be told that I'm doing something wrong. I don't like it. But to overcome this, I just walked into the back. And it was intense. A lot of adrenaline, a lot of kind of looking over my shoulder, a lot of worry, but I just kept going. And I got to the bathroom door and it was locked. And oh man, all of those emotions tripled, quadrupled. And so I turned and I seen a roll of paper towels across the way on a cart. And I was on a mission. I needed those paper towels and I was not going to relinquish the momentum that I was having at that moment. So I walked over and I grabbed those paper towels and I walked out and I didn't look at anybody. And I seen people look at me not wearing an employee shirt coming out of that area. And I thought, well, I'll explain myself if they say something, and guess what? Nobody did. And I won. I won. I overcame my very strong negative emotions. Because truth is, they don't really matter. Most of the time they're false. Most of the time they're fear-ridden. Most of the time they don't really exist. And most of the time people don't really care about little things like that. I was not in any way trying to do something sideways. Everybody experiences this when they walk into a store and they don't buy anything and they walk out. This is a good place to practice this overcoming. Nobody has ever stopped me for not buying something. And still to this day, it feels a little awkward walking out of the store having not bought something. But I've learned to not care as much. truthfully. And this is a mechanism that you can use in today's topic of overcoming negative emotions. For me, I know that I care more than other people do about my consumption of energy drinks. And I displace my own care upon the thought of other people caring about my consumption. And I wish, with all of my entitlement, that I could not have these emotions and I could consume them and not have any consequence, either socially or medically, health-wise, whatever it is. But I can't. And that has to be accepted. So I hope you take today's video and run with it. Hopefully I've made myself somewhat clear enough, giving you some strategies to really think about how to overcome some of your behaviors, some of your syndromes of entitlement or teddy bear syndrome, your sentiments. You're here to learn. And if you are listening still to this point, you have something to change today. And it can be something simple. Find something simple. It is literally around you right now. And I mean the sense of literal, truthfully and honestly. You can reach out within hands, arms, legs reach and do something good for yourself today. I set my alarm early this morning so I could get up and do some push-ups. I just did 20. I did it 15 minutes later than I wanted to. And I went through this battle of, I set my alarm for 5. My intention was to roll out of bed and do 20 push-ups. And I laid there till 5:15. And I still had time. So I rolled over, out of bed, got on the floor, and did 20 push-ups. And for about an hour, I was in conflict with myself that I didn't fulfill the promise that I made to myself on time. Grace. I have to choose grace for myself in that moment because I still did it. And you can still do it. Have a little grace for yourself. Have a little self-love. Have a little self-celebration. Prove to yourself now that you can overcome very small challenges so that you can prove to yourself how to overcome the big ones. It will take time. Be patient. I've had to be very patient with myself as the first student of these philosophies and programs that I've created. And I had to not be hypocritical. And it's working. It'll work for you too. Just follow along. Subscribe, comment, like, share. I'm trying to get better at making these videos, being more consistent in putting them out. I am learning how to edit. I'm learning how to make them more entertaining. So please follow along to help me reach those goals while I help you to give you ideas to overcome the struggles that you face. So we'll see you in the next few videos here. We're going to talk about ADD and trauma and what my philosophy and theory is on the tie that they have within themselves. We're going to start making specific episodes with tools to recovery and tools to trauma. And we're going to dissect the book that I'm working on, Successfully Destructive. I've really figured out how to put this channel together in Elite Outcome Academy so that I can get all of the thoughts and ideas and things that I've been working on out into one place and to categorize them so that whoever cares to listen can listen without having to listen to everything if you choose not to. But bear with me as I build this out. I'm very excited about it. And I hope to build a community with you involved. So, again, I wish the best for you. And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think you couldn't. But I know you can. So until next time, become elite.